Is there a difference between mom versus dad communication? You betcha. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Sandra Jones-Keller, author of 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid. This is my husband, Thomas Keller. You need a title. What's your title?
My name is Thomas Keller.
Okay, that's his title. So today we're actually just going to jump right into a situation that happened last week where this topic came up. Mom versus dad communication. So do you want me to set it up or you want to?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Mecca had a competition and she did great. However, her spins weren't as good as we've seen them in the past. And so I talked to her coach to get feedback, to see what her coach thought. Her coach thought it was great. She landed an axle in competition, which we couldn't tell because she landed it and then fell. So that's why I talked to her coach to get some feedback. Mm-hmm. So her coach was very proud of her, thought she did a good job. We thought she did a good job, but her spins weren't as tight as we've seen them. Mm-hmm. So what did you say? And what sparked this whole conversation?
Well, then we went to a restaurant after the competition, and I said, after I mentioned to Mecca in the car on the way that I thought her spins were a little bit off today. And then,
I think you said they were a little rough.
Yeah, a little rough. And then when we got to the restaurant, I just wanted to clear the air. And what did I say? Someone help me.
Oh, you know what you said.
I know what you said.
What did I say?
You said, Mecca, your spins suck.
Yes, because in my opinion, there was an elephant in the room. That elephant was she had an off day.
And you already mentioned that.
In competition, which I had already mentioned in the drive over. So now we're going to discuss male, female. I said what I said simply to clear the air and try to start making a little light of it, have a little fun with it, and she wasn't ready to have fun with it yet.
Okay, so my experience, when you said that, I was like, oh my God, did he just say that? And what am I going to do? So I didn't say anything for a while, and it was like dead. And so I finally just said, well, this doesn't feel like a celebration at all. And you're like,
That's
well,
right.
Why? I'm like, well, because you just said the spin sucked. You're like, well, I was just being honest. So that led a whole conversation about the difference between how we communicate. So
right. That's right.
My kind of take was, yeah, they weren't that great. No, I've seen them better. And she did a fantastic job, and that's what I'm going to focus on. Right. And I asked her how she felt about it. And I asked her coach. And then, maybe during a practice or a lesson or something, I would say, I noticed that your spins were a little off.
Okay,
because
okay. Now, she just used like 500 words to explain how she was reviewing our daughter's competition. And that's very typical of a female, generally. Now, a male tends to be more direct and use fewer words. And so that was just my style in trying to get over the hump of the seriousness of the event. The point is that after it got awkward, after I said what I said and it became awkward, then I started talking and we were able to talk it out. And I was explaining to my daughter and wife what I was attempting to do by saying your spin sucked. And they were explaining to myself what their take on it was. So in essence, to me, there was no right or wrong way. For men, and maybe dads, it's easy to feel wrong about saying something or doing something. For me, I'm not going to say for all dads. But I'll just say this. If I just keep on talking and explain to my daughter and wife what my take was, what I was trying to do, it all gets worked out. And sometimes I have to go and clean up, what I call clean up, a mess I've made. And that's not uncommon for this man.
That's a very good. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, but so what? So my communication way is very different than your communication way.
Yes, it's very, very different.
That's right.
But not all the time. But yeah, there are instances where you're a lot.
So is
more
one better than the other way?
Yes. No.
Absolutely
Mine
not.
is definitely the mother approach.
That's right.
More
It's
gentle, more holistic, more nurturing.
Right. And mine is just to clear the air so people don't continue to pretend that there wasn't.
Now, wait a minute. I don't
An
think
elephant
anyone.
in the
No,
room.
there was only an elephant for you. There wasn't an elephant for me. Was there an
For
elephant?
me.
Yeah. So
Okay, well, then
it's
it
like
was
we
for
were.
me. That
We
was my
we were all
perception.
clear that the spins weren't on par with things that we've seen. So there wasn't an elephant in the room for me.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
no, I wasn't clear about that because my daughter did not say that in the car driving over the restaurant. She just said, I asked her how she thought her routine was, and she said, fine. Now, fine is not the same as I had an off day or my spins were off. She said, fine, and that's all there was to it.
Okay. So then you felt there was an elephant in the room.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Of course, I wouldn't have said otherwise.
Okay. Well, so that is the difference between mom versus dad communication.
Right.
Now, let's take this, a little further. So it's not just about the communication and the differences and stuff like that. So one thing I was very proud of Mecca because we were sitting in the restaurant and like I said, it was like this. And she's not much of a talker, when it comes to talking about her feelings or things that happen. She's not much of a talker.
She's 12 years old.
But she's very clear in being able to communicate why she didn't like what you said. So what do you know what you said? Or how you?
Sort of.
What did you say?
Well, on the...
You said I didn't have to say it.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
My finger just got in the video.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the drive to the restaurant, you had already mentioned that my spins weren't as good as they usually are.
Right.
Then at the restaurant, you
Right.
came back with it and said my spins sucked. So the first time I got the message from you that you realized my spins weren't very good
Okay.
as they usually were, and then you said it again, but worse. It was harsh.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, yes, you're right. That's exactly right.
I love that she was just able to say, I thought that was very harsh. So even though she's not... Where'd you get that from? So even though she's not that much of a talker, she's able to communicate clearly her feelings. Okay, but I would be remiss in not talking about universal law here.
Okay, go ahead.
Because...
This is really good.
Because, so yes, I think you made a mess, but you cleaned it up. And, we as parents often make messes. We're not perfect. But I think what's important is that we clean them up. And you're really good at cleaning up. You own it.
I've
And
had a lot of practice.
yes, yeah. But like really, I don't remember growing up and my dad ever coming to me and cleaning up a mess. It was sort of like it never happened.
That's right.
So I do give you major props for that. And I, try to clean up my messes too. But universal law.
Okay.
So on several occasions, more than 3, 4, 5, or 6, I have said to Mecca, don't dish it out if you can't take it.
Right, that's right.
So what does that mean? That means
Whatever
you're putting out there.
Sooner
So
or later, you're going to get
when
it
I
back.
have heard her being critical to either me or you, I've said, Mecca, don't dish it out if you can't take it. And what's her, oh yeah, I can take it out. I can take it. I'm like, So this was an example of
taking a hit.
Really. Sometimes I find her critical of me or critical of you. Mm-hmm. And so we've talked about universal law before. So if I'm being critical, what's going to happen?
Yeah,
Someone's going to
be critical to her.
Yeah, someone's going to be critical. And so what's the solution? You knock it off.
Knock it off.
Knock it off. And so, and the critique could be saying something to somebody else, or it could be what's going on in your head. So I could be being critical to myself.
Right.
And then that will be mirrored back to me, or I could be critical to other people outside of myself. But it's the same thing. If I'm being critical, it's going to come back.
If you see it, you be it.
If you see it.
That's universal law.
So I think this was a great example of, it doesn't feel good to be criticized in a harsh way, under the pretense of, I'm just being honest, but it's like, it still hurts.
Yeah.
So if I don't want people to critique me harshly, then I need to be gentler with myself and be gentler with other people. I mean, it's really that simple, And so this was just an example of her criticism kind of whipping around and coming back to her.
So be conscious of where you are and what you are thinking and what you are saying, because if you criticize, you will be criticized. If you judge, you will be judged. It's inevitable. It is universal law.
It's universal law, and we can't do anything about that.
Right.
And I wanted to say that because, I'm not a victim, nor is Mecca ever a victim, or Thomas being a victim of someone just criticizing, because that was put out in the universe and then brought back. So
right. That's right.
Anything else you want to add to that? Yes, this is over. So thank you for joining us. Please visit my website, sandrajoneskeller.com. My book, 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid, is available on Amazon. Until next time, happy parenting, happy teaching, happy being.